I built this over the weekend after your switches, which I thought was kind of fun. It's a desk version of the DeLorean Motor Cars logo.
Oh, that's cool.
That light. I'm working on getting it to light up right now. I don't know if it's gonna hide it. See, there's that AI. Look, see, you can kind of see it. There you go. But once I get that done, I'm just gonna make sure Danny and Cameron and everybody are okay with me just putting the file up, and I'll just give you guys a file. I just wanted something on my desk because I don't have a garage that I can put a giant dealer sign in.
You can find one.
I want one of those signs.
All right. Well, as soon as I get that, I'm trying to get it to the point where the letters. I'm losing 2 letters. My earlier prototype's a little bit cleaner. It's just smaller, and the letters are all intact. So once I get it sorted, I'll hit me up, and I'll send you I'll figure out how to get it to you. It doesn't cost much to print stuff, as Ryan can attest. It's not
better than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I mean, if you go to like Shapeways or any of the 3D printing vendors, they do a 200 to 1,000% markup of the actual price. So like, and if I had a plastic printer, the cheaper stuff, it would be a lot cheaper. But the resin printers, you saw like how it's like kind of smooth. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't have that like wood grain. So, and by the way, the ones I printed for you are my low resolution. If I print them in high resolution, they're going to look as smooth as glass. So if you want to do that down the line, let me know.
Maybe.
And then the other thing, I'm going to sample the vinyl patterns in the cars.
Okay.
So if you guys ever need to recreate what the vinyl is, what the plastic is, I'll get essentially what that actual grit looks like, do it as a 3D scan, and then it can be used to essentially print it out or get it made at a CNC shop if you can mill it that small and actually get recreated the actual pebble texture like on the dash. Like on my binnacle, for example, I want to like get the actual vinyl on it since it's still not damaged and then go from there. But anyway, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you, dude.
Good chat.
Appreciate you guys letting me rant. So have an awesome rest of the meeting. Andy, thank you for inviting me into this.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've been trying to do it like every Saturday, so I'll put another invite in the Facebook group there, the private group, and
cool.
Then the rest of you, I am live on YouTube now. I'm not as familiar with YouTube as I am with Facebook Live, so
right on.
If you want to check that out. The only thing I'm scared about YouTube is I can't figure out how to turn off the comments, because with that one you can get like anybody, just whatever they want to say.
Oh, that's
so
okay.
I'm still playing with it, but hey,
so
Doug's
I noticed
in the
we happen to have Ryan Foster down here.
Ryan's in the house.
Hey guys.
Ryan, I haven't had the pleasure of officially meeting you, so hello.
How you doing?
So I've been Christian Dietrich's a really good friend of mine, and I personally want to ask you about the DeLorean convoy. Is that still on with the whole COVID-19 BS going on? And how many people do you guys have going out to Vegas?
Well, from what I can say is I still want to do the convoy. I'm waiting on whether or not the DeLorean weekend is definitely going to happen or not, because it's still months away. So I don't know what the Brandies are thinking, if they're still going to do it or if they're going to put it on hold. But as far as I'm concerned, as long as it's still going on, I'd still like to do it. But here's the dilemma I have, and that's why I put up this post the other day on Facebook, was even if it does happen, I know a lot of folks have lost their jobs or because of this whole pandemic, and I know money's tight for people, and it's not a couple hour trip for most. I mean, we're going to be driving from North Carolina to Vegas, and it's going to take a couple weeks, probably 2 weeks total from driving out there, the event, and then driving back. So I don't know if people are going to drop out because of that. But I know I've got at least 5 confirmed DeLoreans. And before all this happened, I had a lot more interest. But again, you could have 20 people say they're going to go, and then when it comes down to it, you might get 5 to 10 cars.
Right.
So
now is that including the other half of the convoy that Anthony's leading from Chicago?
No, and I haven't talked to him in a while. I do need to touch base with him, but I know he said he had 6 to 8 cars, I think, interested in going from from Chicago area, which would be cool. And I say if we all met up, I mean, just see a line of cars like that traveling across the country would be pretty sweet in my
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And me and my group, we're over here in Tennessee, so I mean, you guys are naturally just going to be hitting I-40 and just
Yep.
screaming straight across us. And I mean, honestly, like I don't have the confidence in my car to go all the way out to Vegas and back.
That's
I mean,
what makes it fun.
maybe Texas, sure.
Yeah.
But if you guys do another DeLorean convoy, which who knows, you guys may, I'd probably be up for it in another couple of years, and probably some of my other team would be able as well.
Well,
I know I see Jay's shaking his head like hell yeah.
I drove my car from Chicago to Buffalo. It's fun, man. You don't know when you're gonna get.
I know. I drew my little heat box when I bought it. You know, all the way from Long Island to here.
Yeah.
when I bought my car 2 years ago in Phoenix and drove it home. I flew out and I just drove it home, and the thing drove great, and I didn't know anything about the car.
Nice.
Now that I've gone through the whole car, I'm confident to drive it anywhere. And any car can break down. It's not just a DeLorean. I mean, even any 40-year-old car, any brand new car can break down on a trip. It's just a chance you got to take. But I get it. That's why we were trying to get it put out there as soon as possible. Like when we were at DeLorean weekend last year, we were talking about it, and we were like, Kevin Krin's the one that actually mentioned it to me. He's like, man, he goes, I'd take my car to something like this if I had somebody that knew how to fix them like you here in case something happened. And I was like, well, that'd be kind of fun to have a whole chain of cars, and we got brainstorming it. And
absolutely. I mean, that's definitely another plus. I mean, if one of us breaks down, someone is probably going to be bound to have a spare part somewhere in their trunk,
Right. And we said, maybe we could put up a thing where, hey, somebody bring these parts and you keep the parts. If somebody needs it, they could buy the part from you, or however, figure out like a potluck of parts. That way, not one person has to bring a spare DeLorean or whatever.
Right.
But, in minor things, you got to expect if you have a complete total engine failure that can't be fixed on the side of the road, that's a chance you got to take with something like this. But small things, you blow a radiator hose or, whatever. I mean, small things you can fix on the side of the road type of deal. You have the people there and the knowledge, hopefully, to make those repairs and keep going. That's part of the adventure of doing it. But like I said, somebody overheats and warps their heads or something, and you got a catastrophic engine failure. Yeah, well, you have to get you a tow truck. Sorry.
Right.
I think everybody should do a long trip.
There was a DeLorean Australian meetup that we did. And because Australia is actually the same size as continental USA, just people think it looks different because of map projections, it was nearly a 600-mile journey, and we all kind of met up in the middle. And so we'd set up between each other. We all had different tools and different parts, different spare things. So that way we could both, two convoys meeting together in the middle for the destination. So we all have everything to hopefully repair everything that went down. The one thing that we had go wrong was someone's tire collapsed on them, and they had to stop by somewhere, get a spare tire, because we didn't want to run on a spare tire the entire distance that way. We thought we might as well get a replacement. But otherwise, yeah, we had, my convoy had 3 breakdowns, and the other convoy from Sydney had 4 breakdowns. And what is supposed to be a 4 or 5 hour drive ended up taking both people 8 to 9 hours just because of the breakdowns getting there. But the hilarious part was, like, we were talking to each other, every so often when we stopped for a break for a drink or something like that, or a refuel, we just messaged each other with where we were. And none of us were talking like organizing stuff. But literally, when we both arrived to the hotel, we literally, both teams arrived at the exact same time. As in, we were both making the left-hand turn and the right-hand turn into the hotel at the exact same moment, despite driving, 300 miles each and not really being in communication with each other. We just arrived right there together. So crazy.
It's cool. Wow. Hey, Ryan, where are you from? I have never met you either.
I live in North Carolina. I'm from upstate New York originally.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And
welcome in.
Yeah, I think we've talked briefly.
We probably have. Now that I have a face with the name and the emails and all that kind of stuff.
I think I don't know if we met at DCS in 2018, but we may have met briefly.
Okay. And then, so DeLorean Weekend is something that Bob and I started back in 2013.
Cool.
So when I moved here, I'm in where am I at? Minnesota right now.
Okay.
I'm not a part of it anymore, but I'm in constant contact and stuff with Bob and Ryan to see if they are going, and I haven't heard anything not going, so
Okay.
I have a feeling, I mean, it's not like it's a huge show, but it's such a cool show to go out to Vegas and drive and around and see the scenes and all that kind of stuff. And plus the fact that it's the second week, what is it? The first weekend of October. Things are probably going to be cleared up by then. I really don't see Bob canceling, especially with the convoy. I mean, that's a first for DeLorean Weekend, and boy, that would be awesome. I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
would
been to Vegas. That'd be
definitely like it to happen. I've also been trying to talk to Terry and Oliver Holler about joining in too and get them to go out there with us.
They were at the one last year. They came out to it. I saw pictures of their car there.
It was a couple years ago they were here.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a couple years now because I've
Okay.
gone through.
Boy, time
I have-
flies.
Yeah, because I haven't had my car.
Oh, that's
for
right. John,
for
you're in
the
Vegas.
last 2 years. Yeah, and they were at my second DeLorean Weekend, which was like three of them ago. So yeah, it's been a while.
Dang. So yeah, I don't realize how much time has gone by since I've been away from Vegas.
It's crazy.
Johnny, how are you doing over there? I mean, everything's closed, right? Your establishment.
Yeah, my place finally got shut down after all the fun we were having. It's been over about a month and a week now. So I've just been home.
I bet your employees are just going crazy with nothing
So
to do, right?
So I gotta ask. I don't think I've ever met Johnny. Where are you?
I'm in Las Vegas.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've been an owner since August of 2016 or July of 2016 or early August. I bought my car from consignment from Toby up in Seattle and drove it back to Vegas. Again, same thing. Never knew anything about the car. Hold on. Have a good night. Yeah, me and my wife flew up to Seattle and just drove the car back to Vegas, sight unseen.
Cool.
How did it do?
It did pretty well. I made the mistake of leaving my gas cap on a gas pump like halfway home, so I was like stalling out every 25 miles and couldn't figure out why. And then I realized the next morning that I didn't have a gas cap, and it was kind of overheating once I hit triple digits temperatures. But I daily drove it for 15 months here in Vegas without a single issue. And now up with Toby for it was a year in March that he's had it up there.
It's still up there.
2 years. Yeah, it's still up with him. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Why?
So back at the DeLorean Weekend a few years ago, Rob Grady came out and he was doing inspections of everybody's car and everything. And I took the opportunity to, go ahead and change my exhaust. I had a major exhaust leak. My muffler was completely destroyed and corroded. So Rob flew out at the beginning of November and I had him do a Spec 1 exhaust, custom steering rack, stainless steel fuel lines, all that stuff I wanted to get done. And after working on it for a few days, he went to go start it and it wouldn't start. So he canceled his flight. He stayed out here a couple more days and he couldn't get it to start. So he flew home. I flew him out again at the beginning of December and me and him spent a week in my garage working on it. We changed out everything in the engine compartment, the engine wiring harness, spark plugs, all that. And we finally got it we got 3 sparks. So we had half of the engine firing and it started up and it idled and it ran, but it had no power. It was only running on 3 cylinders. And Rob's looking at me going, this would be impossible. I don't know how this is even running. And we messed with it for the rest of the week, still couldn't get the problem solved. He came out again at the beginning of January for a week. And him and Bob worked on it over at Bob's place and they couldn't figure it out. So finally the car sat in my garage until March of that year of a couple years ago, and then I shipped it up to Toby, and Toby's kind of been working on it in his spare time. From what we found out, somehow my car was getting positive power to the grounds. So Toby is literally, he has my car ripped apart and he's going through every wire in the wiring harness, the main harness, and he's unwrapping it, fixing shorts, rewrapping it, and he's kind of doing it in his spare time. So hopefully once he gets through the entire harness, hopefully whatever was causing the problem is fixed. So, but I won't know if he gets it all put back together.
I think I would lose my shit if my car was away from me for 2 years.
I can't do a week.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you know that first conversation I had with Rob when I knew that my car was going to be sitting for a month until he flew back out, I was really upset. And then as time went on, I was just kind of like, this is ridiculous, you know. But I mean, shit happens. You know, what can you do?
To me, it's ridiculous that the dude's had your car for a year. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little much. I don't know. I mean,
I feel for you.
Well, that's kind of the same situation that Justin Webb's in. I mean, hell, Josh Bingston's had his car for what, like year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
I like the work that Josh does, but I would almost feel hostage. Some of the comments and some of the way I mean, I understand he's a perfectionist and that's fine. And that's great. But the fact that a lot of the stuff only he will install, of course, at his prices, and you have to wait for the car to get done. I mean, I've met him several times. I think he's a nice guy. I'm not a performance upgrade kind of guy. There are some parts that he has that I would like to have that I would put on, but not, I can't see just dropping the car off at his place with a blank check and say, you know, call me when it's done, because it'll be a while. So
Does Webb have that twin turbo car?
I'm sorry.
Is Justin Webb that twin turbo car?
No, I think you're thinking of Darren Decker, whose car is also at Josh's.
What's Justin's story? Like what?
So Justin ended up finding block rod on the inside of his water jackets on the inside of the motor itself. So Josh essentially just took the car. Just took the car to Josh, and okay, well, here you go, fix it, get it running, you know. And it's just one of those complete overhaul.
That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I get it, man. I don't know. I've had enough bad experiences with vendors working on my car that I just don't let vendors work on my car anymore.
Why's that?
Because I like to do my own shit.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I love wrenching on cars. I don't get a chance to do it often enough. If you guys are Facebook friends with me, you saw that I spent the whole day working with my brother wrenching on a car, and I just absolutely enjoyed it. So if there's something I can do, like suspension.
Not only a car, but you wrenched on a Ferrari.
Yeah, well,
yeah, he did.
I did get fun with that. Oh, let me show you. There's another car there. Do you guys know what a Pantero is?
Of course we do. We're all car guys here.
So let me find. Bear with me for a second. This is the other car that. So I couldn't use. You guys know Ken Konsolik?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't use Ken. So I couldn't use Ken's shop because I had the 308 transported to Ken's, because Ken graciously said, yeah, you can absolutely do this. Well, this is before the whole COVID-19 thing. So once they shut down Ohio, I contacted Ken and said, hey, kind of shut down. Would you mind if I came in? I might be able to be wrenching on my 308 a lot faster than anticipated. And he said, and this was the day before the last free day. And he called me the next day and he said, you know what? He said, I can't do it. He said, first of all, you and 30 other guys had the same idea. They all want to use the lift. They all want to bring their car in. He said, but I run a business here. And I'm not sure if it's considered essential or not. He owns a company that makes custom circuit boards. So he said, I'm not sure if we're allowed to be open. So let me get back to you. And the next day he said, you know what, I'm a little nervous. I've heard some stories of, non-essential businesses being busted and raided. And he says, I can't afford a $20,000 fine because we're open and you're working on a car. Fair enough. I understand that. So it sat for 3 weeks, and then I was able to take it over about a week ago. Took it over to a friend of mine who has a nice fully loaded shop, but it's a personal shop. It's just a guy with a personal car collection. He has hundreds of cars, a big Corvette guy. So took it over there, starting to work on a car over there, and then he just bought a Pantera, and it's rough, but he'll sink money into it. Oh my God, that thing is badass. Let me just see if I can find. I was just over there today, and of course I was working over there today. Let me find my video. Apple. Here we go. Yeah, let me see if I can share my screen.
Hey, Colin, real quick, where are you from? I want to rename you in there.
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. All right. What's your VIN?
3513.
All right.
Hey, I'm
Colin Brown down there, right?
I'm 3589.
Hey guys, I hate to cut in. I've got a jet, but you guys have a great night. Great chat with y'all again. And
Colin, say it again. 35.
See, Scott. Who said that? Scott. Scott, you leaving? See you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Have a great night.
I'd say.
See you, Scott. One more time, Colin. 35.
13.
13. There it is. Okay.
Colin, I thought you were selling your little lime green rally monster.
Oh, everything's for sale for the right price.
You can't sell that car, man. That green car is awesome.
Else, it's something.
Just a wrap. It's just a
I
wrap.
love that wrap though, man. I love it. I'm anti-painting DeLoreans until I saw that green car. I thought it was cool as hell.
Whenever we do our tech day, in Tennessee, I feel confident I can get Colin to come down.
I love that green car.
Am I right, Colin?
I'll show up.
Yeah, Colin, you were supposed to come down to us for our last meetup in January, weren't you?
Yeah, and that was the weekend that I had a fueling issue and wound up on a flatbed for the first time ever.
That's right. That's
It's
what
nothing to be embarrassed about. We've all been there, or we will all be there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, as hard as I thrashed my car, it's no surprise that it broke. So,
yeah.
I mean,
he drives them.
I hear you guys a little nervous about going to Vegas, and it makes me chuckle because I did 6,500 miles in a week through Death Valley and out to Vegas and through the Rockies and back. And
yeah, I remember that.
The cars like to be driven, man. If you're driving them, they do pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm sure the Allers are going to be like watching this later and are going to be like, noobs.
Yeah. Hold my beer.
Well, you know what?
Right.
You know what though? I mean, it literally boils down to the confidence in your car. You get that by driving it. When I first got mine back on the road after a 25-year slumber, you know, I drove it from Ken's place to my house, probably a 25-minute drive. Took all the back roads, you know, tested the brakes and all stuff. Halfway there, I realized I don't have third gear. I only had first and second. You know, it's an automatic, and the transmission computer was, as very commonly known, was shot. So drove it on my first and second, and drove it around. You know, I have first and second. I can take it up to the store. I can drive it around a little bit, get used to it. I did my first parade without third gear. Knowing I wouldn't take the highway, I wouldn't do any of that stuff. Got it fixed, started driving it more, did the highway drive, did the parades, didn't overheat, did well. And then 5 years later, actually probably 2 years later, I hop in that car and go anywhere. But the first 2 years, oh boy, got nervous. There's a couple, my first parade after I got the transmission computer fixed was 100-degree day, 4th of July parade. Afterwards, we all ended up at Ken's. We all partied and had a good time. Driving home, I'm a mile away from home, and I just happened to look down, and my alternator light is on. Uh-oh, what's this? Alternator light coming up a hill. I'm literally a mile from home. And then I looked, and I mean, I've been driving for probably 3 months now. And coming up the hill, alternator lights on. That's weird. That shouldn't be doing that. And then I just happened to glance at the temperature gauge. It's pegged. And then I realized, yeah, I forgot about those 30-year-old fan belts. They didn't make the trip. Even then, after that, it took another 6 months. But after that, I hop in my car right now and go for a spin. So getting confidence in drive. I would love to do the Vegas thing. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I can't take 2 weeks off, and I'm sure there's a broken radiator hose waiting to happen, or the air conditioner is going to crap out on me. Actually, that reminds me, I'm short cycling my compressor right now, so I need to go find some R12. I think confidence in driving your car is driving your car, hopping in it, going someplace. Start off with the ice cream trip and end up with a cross country trip. So
I agree, man. I've been on a flatbed 3 times, and it was all K-Jet related.
Oh, was it? See, I've knock on wood, I've never had the only problem I had with K-Jet is when I first got it home, I had idle loop with look, there's Andy. I had idle loop severe. Just kept doing it, and it would never warm up and go away. Then I also realized it really didn't have a lot of power. Now I know it's a PRV automatic and it's not going to have a ton of power. But I saw somebody who on a post had said that they got in there and started tweaking their mixture adjustment. And we had already popped the mixture adjustment thing out of mine. And so I got brave one day. I went outside, I stuck the Allen wrench or whatever it was down there and started tweaking a little bit left, a little bit right. And son of a gun, my idle loop went away. And my power had much returned. I think I was running super rich. Knock on wood, I have not had an issue with K-Jet. It's not super powerful and all this other crap. I know everybody switches over to fuel injection or carburetors or whatever. I'm curious, what are your issues? Jay, what did you have?
Well, I'll tell you what my issues were. One was a shit DMC accumulator. So they put a brand new accumulator in my car, and it literally lasted from Chicago to Ohio.
You mean a
Really?
shit DMC anything?
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, the accumulator was actually put in my car by DMC Florida when I was moving from Alabama up to New York. I stopped there, had him put an accumulator in. I ended up taking my car up to Mike, and he did a few things to it. And I picked it up. I flew from New York to pick it up and drove from Chicago to Buffalo. And it was actually the first drive of my car because if you've seen my restoration thread, it was a barn find and pretty much a rotten car, and I rebuilt the whole thing over the course of a year. So my first drive was Chicago to Buffalo. I made it to about halfway there, and the car died on the highway, and it was the accumulator. And somebody
Really?
Florida put carburetor fuel line on the accumulator instead of high pressure fuel line.
Yep.
So pop that 8 psi fuel hose real quick.
Yep.
So that was simple. I actually I called a tow truck. They took me to a local place and they were closing. And I convinced the guy, I was like, hey man, I do my own work. Like if you let me let me rent your lift for an hour. I basically talked them into staying open. We're going to be stranded here for the night. And they're like, well, we won't let you work on it, but if you talk our mechanic through it and you're convinced you can do it in an hour, we'll get it done. So we put it up on the lift. We changed the accumulator line. Then I got home. No issues. Drove the car pretty much the rest of the season that way. And then I actually ended up having my original frequency valve split one day. My wife and I were driving and the car died. And I got out, I smelled gas, and there was fuel sprayed all over the exhaust, all over the engine. I don't know how it did.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then the third time it happened was my new old stock RPM relay fried. So I went to a data unit. And actually, Rich, my buddy up in New York, sent me a frequency valve off of his KJet car that he converted to carburetor. So really, the problem is I had all new KJet stuff. I rebuilt the whole system, but I could not get an accumulator that would last longer. The first accumulator I put in that car after that failure. And so I just got annoyed with it. And this winter, I'm one of the guys that converted the EFI.
Did you? Okay. All right.
It's that, and I'm a guy that drove my car. I mean, I got 3 years out of that KJet system, and it's actually, I sent all my KJet parts up to my buddy in New York, and he's restoring one of a car he has with all my parts. So they're living on, but yeah, my car is at the diamond right now.
Yeah, you know, I that's great. When you make the jump to EFI, it's a little more complicated than when I, you know, no, let's, first of all, I'm kind of a purist. You know, I don't like major modifications for my own car. I love to see what other people do. I'd love to see the LS1 drops. I'd love to see the fuel injections, even the carburetors. I don't do them to my own car, but I like to see other guys do it. So, yeah, I would say after a couple breakdowns, if you toss the KJet off, you know, into the bin, as they say in Europe, then it's interesting to see how you get past that. So I've just been lucky. I know I'm on borrowed time. Everyone take a deep breath when I say I'm on my original OEM accumulator, and I know it's a matter of time. I need to get mine, but I'm curious. I know there's 2 accumulators out there. There's like the original sized accumulator, and then there's a smaller one.
That's another source of contention. So DMC sold me an accumulator, and it was smaller than my original one. And I called them, and they're like, "Oh no, it's good."
And it wasn't.
And it's a 4-cylinder accumulator.
Oh,
And,
really?
yeah. And after the accumulator died on that first year, when I called them to complain about it, I basically got told that 1 to 3 years is considered acceptable to them.
What?
And they also told me that they had recognized that the small accumulator, they were having a lot of issues with it, so they went to a new model in the same conversation. And I was like, well, then send me the
So
new
so you screwed me hard twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
An accumulator, if you haven't checked out Rock Auto, they actually sell the correct size one, and it's a Bosch unit. About half the price. I just installed one and it works fantastic.
Yeah, somebody's told me that the Rock Auto accumulator, they have no issues with it, but you would think ordering from DMC Direct, they'd sell you the right damn part.
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so. Who's making all the noise in the background? Is that you, Colin?
Right now, there's not a single DMC part left on my car because every mechanic, actually, with the exception of the steering rack, which is junk already after about 5,000 miles. But
I worked with Swindles up in Dave up in Chicago before he retired. His advice was wonderful. I didn't have to replace a lot of parts. I had to replace my fuel injectors. They were, I mean, my car was sat for 25 years.
Yeah.
I had to replace the fuel distributor. I bought I had a interior door panel that was mouse chewed, so I bought one of those at a kind of inflated price, but whatever. Other than that, that's my only dealings. Now, once they retired, I don't really work with them anymore. So, but I digress. So far I've been extremely lucky, and I'm hoping my new toy is going to be just as lucky.
Yeah,
So
I've had a lot of bad luck with the repro parts. Like everything I bought from Houston, man, the brake master cylinder failed, the brake servo failed, the steering rack's junk, the fuel pump and the accumulator I bought in 2017. The fuel accumulator lasted a year. My fuel pump just went out this week.
So let me ask you about that fuel pump. So
yeah.
everyone, I don't remember the name of the gentleman who created the tuna can fuel pump. What was that?
Bill Robertson.
Oh, Bill. Okay. So everyone was saying that the tuna can fuel pickup was junk. You have to use the long hose and all this other good stuff. But then DMC comes out with what is it? It's a modified Cadillac fuel pump, if I understand, and it's got a tuna can on the bottom of it.
It's a cheap version with a Delphi pump. basically.
a Delphi.
Cross references to a 2001 GMC Yukon or something, or
Okay.
Chevy Tahoe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, except it's not actually a Delphi unit. It's a knockoff unit, and it's made by a company in China called. I'll tell you right now. Hold on a second.
But you can get a Delphi pump or a Delco pump and rebuild it.
Yeah, 2000 Tahoe V8 drops right in. Takes about 5 minutes.
Well, not even that too. I mean, if you wanted to keep the same sender and everything, all you'd have to do is just pull the actual pump out of the assembly and replace just the pump.
Yeah, and most guys that run it, we just
because the sender is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do have to make some modifications to get your fuel gauge to still work, but anyways, the pump that they're selling is made by a company in China, and it's junk.
I'm sorry. Let me interrupt real quick. Mike Ando in Australia. Oh, you moved. Okay. You you looked frozen in time there for a second.
I'm still here. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, you can see how confident I am with DeLorean's parts. I had a brand new DeLorean clutch master cylinder on my car, and a week before we left for the first rally, it went bad, and I put my 37-year-old Girling master cylinder back on, and it's made it coast to coast in the last year. So,
Colin, it makes me feel good to hear you say that, man, because every time I try to complain about a part, it's like people are getting paid by the vendor to defend them. I'm like, I don't know why you defend vendors. Like it's I buy the part, it fails. That's all. I'm just trying to tell other people the experience I've had. But like the brake calipers on my car have been rebuilt with DMC parts twice before I finally said, screw this, and went and got regular old Rock Auto Jaguar parts and rebuilt all my brakes, and I haven't had a problem since.
Oh my God. You know what? I bought rebuild parts from DMC Midwest, for the brakes. I took all the photos, I documented it, and then I didn't write up how I did it. Nobody cares. But I did all that. I got the parts. Jesus, DMC was charging $30 a master or $30 a caliper for the rebuild parts. I bought the exact same parts on Rock Auto for $295, yeah, or something ridiculous. I ended up buying a handful. I'm like, well, oh my God, I found a gold mine. So I bought like 30 different sets. I have them in a box in my garage. I'll probably never use them.
Kit for the rear of the car is Jaguar, and it's $7 for the pair.
Yeah, that's God. Well, I mean, okay, I understand capitalism and make a buck and put the name DeLorean. Well, let me tell you this.
They gotta fund that new project that they're doing.
Oh wait, are they going to launch? Oh wait, are they relaunching the DeLorean?
Yeah, I'll believe that when my shit turns purple and smells like rainbow sherbet.
Well, what are you drinking there? Because that might have something to do with it.
Bourbon.
Remember the electric DeLorean? I first saw the electric DeLorean at the Indianapolis Speedway when we all went out there. Talk about boy, I tell you what, talk about a convoy.
Wasn't that the trip that it caught on fire?
Oh no, I don't think so. I don't know. I didn't. If it did, I didn't hear about that. No.
There was something happened to it at one point, and it had a small meltdown.
That might have been me. So when you put that all together, I wanted desperately to go, but my transmission was leaking severely, and it was fine when the car was running, but as soon as you shut the car off, it was just a puddle under the car, and it was. Oh, I think I boogered up a sensor when I was fixing when I was replacing the automatic transmission computer. So I really wanted to go. I was scared to death to drive it. It's about a 2-hour drive for me. Scared to death to drive it. Everybody from Cincinnati's going. I'm going to be left out. They're all making plans to get together and when we're going to drive out there. And I couldn't make it. I can't hop in that car because someone's going to have to hang on the hood and pour transmission fluid down the damn thing. So
I've been there.
So by chance, I was picking up my daughter at her guitar lesson, and there was a car trailer sitting there, and I just asked the guy, "Hey, you don't mind if I borrow your trailer?" He don't know me from nobody. He said, "Yeah, I don't mind. Go ahead." Great. So we throw the car on. I call Consulate, and I was like, "Hey, you got a hotel room?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "You want to split the cost because we need a place to stay?" So we trailer that thing out there. We get up in the morning. There's this long line of transmission fluid leaking out from underneath my car in the hotel parking lot. Everybody's looking at me like, "Oh, this guy's got a problem. What's wrong with this guy's car?" And
the Herco pump. Yep.
the Herco pump. Okay, so we get in. We're driving. That was the most fantastic drive I've ever done in my DeLorean. What we have 56 DeLoreans with a police escort down I-65 from probably a 20-30 minute drive. Just an absolute amazing thing. The greatest thing the cop said was, first of all, he said, we're going to go from point A to point B. Try to keep tight. If somebody breaks down, pull off side of the road. If we can fix it, we'll keep going. If you can't, you're on your own. We'll keep going. He said, stay close. People will try to cut in. Try not to let them. Keep it tight. Keep it good. And don't forget, try to keep up. He said, I've got blue lights and try to keep up. So we're doing 80 down I-65 or whatever. We get to the Indianapolis Speedway. We get to do a parade lap, which a lot of people in the Cincinnati club thought that, or the Ohio club thought, oh, wow, we get to take a lap around the Indianapolis 500 Speedway. It's a parade lap, okay? You don't get to take your 30-year-old car without a safety inspection and no safety helmet wide open around the speedway. It's not going to happen. So we do the parade lap. I remember sticking my hand out so I could touch the pavement. And we sit down and they park us. And now at this point, I'm getting nervous because how much transmission fluid did I leak out onto the track? So they park us, and I brought a little tray to stick underneath the car. But thankfully, they parked us in grass. Thank God, because any leaks I had like 6 quarts of transmission fluid in my car. Any leaks that we had, I would be able to fill up. And then they ran the Indianapolis 500, the time trials. They opened them up. Oh my God, the cars, they were going so fast, so quick. Indy 500 cars. And I thought, please don't tell me we have an accident in turn 3, some red liquid on the track. Oh God, please. I'm going to be in such big trouble. That was my Indy 500 story for you, Colin.
I remember all that, man. That was a fun trip.
That was a fun trip. That was an absolute blessing. The car show, my wife went with me, and the car show with all those different cars up front. I think Jay Leno had brought some 12-cylinder whatever car.
Tank car.
Yeah, big tank car, stuff like that. That was great times. Great times. So, hi Jay, welcome back.
I just had a newborn last week. I got to keep checking on it.
Hey, congratulations, boy or girl?
Checking on it.
Checking on the wife. That's better.
The wife. Okay.
It. Did he refer to his baby as it, or his wife as it?
Yeah,
I'm tired, man.
Well, they all kind of look like amoebas when they're little.
Dude, Jay, you might mute your speakers there, because if she hears this conversation, you're a dead man.
Yeah, she gets me.
Hey, I'm gonna toot my own horn here. Is that all right?
Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
I did an event today, which was so nice to do because I don't know if we're allowed to do events. A guy turned 40 today, so his wife had me show up as a surprise to his house.
Okay.
And so she just sent me the pictures. I'll show you it was a lot of fun. I gave him, like, there's, hardly anybody on the road.
Yep.
So I gave him a nice long ride or on the highway and all that kind of stuff. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep. Yeah, we sure can. Yep.
So I pulled up doing Marty McFly. And then they were twins. Let me find a cool picture of this little kid was, I think 1.5. It was so cool. He saw my vest.
Yeah.
And came up and wanted to like patty cake me. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. There he is. He was
nice.
He was smiling ear to ear when I showed up, and gave him a ride around the block and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun, even though I don't know if I'm technically allowed to do that right now, but
sure.
I don't know. She emailed me and said, "Are we still doing this?" I said, "Your husband's turning 40, so yes, I will show up," because she had all these plans of having all these people come over to the house, but she had to cancel all that. So I said, he's not going, on his 40th birthday with not a DeLorean showing up to his house.
Right. Right.
So we had a lot of fun.
That's cool. Today. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, if experience has taught me anything in life, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is permission to do anything.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Yeah. Yep. I learned that at my job. You know, just spend the money and tell the boss, "Oh, I'm sorry."
It was essential.
Justin, introduce us. Who's the little guy at 12:23 a.m.? We see you. Yeah, you.
Where you at?
This is my daughter, Victoria.
Hi,
Oh.
Hi, Victoria. She's up early. She's up late. Early.
You know,
I'm
like
not sure.
so it's 11:24 here. She usually goes to bed around midnight. So
Okay. All right.
we stay up late. And we don't
Everybody wave to her. Say hi.
Victoria,
Say, Daddy, get my car running so I can inherit it when you leave.
it's running.
Daddy, take care of my car because I'm driving it to prom.
It was running when I took it back. I'll say that.
Oh, that's good.
What, Colin?
I said it was running when I brought it back to you. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Well, it was running, and now it's running better.
Good.
But you got it where it needed to be.
Yeah.
Well, she gets to inherit that car later on. So, oh, Dad, can I take your DeLorean to prom?
That's going to be a big no.
My daughter asked me about that. I was like, yeah, I think so. I was a nervous dad.
Yeah, I'd be very nervous too.
Yeah. So she had no idea.
For you dads out there, my boys, they don't know DeLorean as much as they know data car. So once your kids start growing up a little bit, you train them to understand what a data car is.
Data car.
Yeah. So all three of the boys call that the data car. Anytime I wear a Back to the Future shirt or something like that, it's kind of cool that they know that. I don't know. Hopefully they're going to become my mechanics someday.
That would be good.
Yeah, I've got 3 kids. I mean, that's a mini DeLorean shop right there, right?
It is right there. Exactly. It is.
Well, out of everyone in my house, I'm the only one that gives a crap about my car.
No, she doesn't.
And that's only about half the time, really.
Mm-hmm.
So who do we got in here? We got, I'm just going to go over states. We got Tennessee. Oh boy, Tennessee, Australia, Wisconsin, Northern Ireland, North Carolina. Doug, you're what? Cincinnati, right?
Correct. Cincinnati, Ohio. Yep.
That might as well just be Kentucky.
Ooh, well, no, I've got more than 4 teeth. So
That's funny.
Johnny's in Vegas.
Johnny,
All
I'd love to
right.
come see you, but I think the Star Trek convention's probably never going to make it.
Sean's in the house. I didn't even see
I
you
don't
pop
think
in,
so.
Sean. Welcome in.
Hey, I snuck in.
You got power, you got internet, I see.
Yep.
Awesome. And then the other Sean, sorry, I didn't, Sean, where are you from? Sean Knight.
Washington.
You are Washington. Okay,
Seattle,
cool.
yeah.
That's
Sean, I
fine.
was just up that way. I was close a couple of months ago. I was in Portland, Oregon. Not quite Seattle, but pretty close. What, couple hours away?
Yeah, it's about 3-hour drive.
Oh,
If
is it
traffic's
that
good.
far? Okay.
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine who works for Microsoft who lives up that way.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
I'm gonna put the I just started my YouTube channel for Rent DeLorean. I'm just trying to get more whatever. I don't know. Just trying to get more of a social media presence, but I'm gonna put that in the link there if you guys want to subscribe or whatever, however that works. I had my regular channel, but it was like my personal one that I had just regular videos up. And now that, I mean, I've got more time on my hands, I really want to focus on Rent DeLorean being like the brand, you know, for everything. So
Sure.
it helps me out if you guys are whatevering out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna start getting her wound down for bed, so I'm gonna pop off. But
Good seeing you, Justin.
next week. Yeah, good seeing y'all too.
See you, Justin.
Yeah, I'll put it in there for an invite.
Awesome, sounds good. See you then.
Bye, sweetie.
what-
Bye.
What next? Oh, bye.
And now that, I mean, I've got more time on my hands. Oh, I really want to focus on. All right.
What do you?
Cool.
Try not to play the recording on top of the recording.
Well, no, when you, if one of you guys are watching the YouTube video, there's a like a maybe a 10-second delay, and then you can hear it. So if you are watching it, you're going to see a delay, but make sure you mute it. Otherwise, we hear
Oh, the feedback.
the feedback. That's what that
Gotcha.
probably was. I kept doing that when I was starting out.
I got you. All right.
So
well,
anyway,
so I guess
Ryan's got a question. Ryan, you can unmute yourself if you want. Do you know how to? Or I'll
Oh
unmute you.
yeah, I
There
just
you
didn't
go.
want to. You guys were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. I was just curious what y'all were, what part numbers you use for these Jaguar brake caliper rebuild kits. Just out of curiosity, or what tag they came off of.
Yeah, that's Googleable, but I think I just did the DeLorean. I'm looking it up right now. You know what?
They're off of an XJ.
That's true.
Mid 80s, all the way up to the 90s XJ.
Okay.
Brake caliper. Ooh, these are all. Oh, these are the calipers. There's a
Now
repair.
you'll see information for a cross reference too for a Mercury Capri for the front caliper, but the piston sizes are different, so don't get your hopes up.
That's if that's the one I ordered. This Ray Bestis WK667.
Okay.
And I don't remember if that was front or rear, but it's $4.11 per caliper. You've also this is the front. I'm sorry, these are for the front.
Yeah.
The difference between this one and this one are those little nubs in the corner, which all that one in the middle there, all that does is cover the brake bleeder screw. It keeps dirt from getting in there. These are for the O-rings for the connector, I believe. So those are for the back. I'm curious if there is and they're cheap. They're cheap.
Actually, those would be for the front.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because the rear doesn't have an internal crossover.
You're right. Thank you. This is if you want parking brakes, or not parking brakes, but brake pads. They're $20 versus DeLorean's getting. I have no idea how much DeLorean gets for
about 40.
Are they 40? Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been using Bosch blue pads here lately, and highly recommend them if anyone cares.
Oh yeah.
Blue pad for the brake pads.
Yeah, I'll find the link for them. I just bought them on Amazon, but they fit. And of course, I also have DeLorean Go's vented rotor set up too. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But the pads are the same either way.
Right.
I'll be right back.
Mike, you were quiet down there in the down under. Tell us some stories.
Stories. Oh God. Getting parts over here is expensive.
You guys do you know Simon Hauser down there?
Yeah. Most of the Australian owners I know. Well, anyone who's in the Australian DeLorean community, we most of us know each other just because we share parts on what we can find as crossovers, whatever else. Yeah, I've never met Simon in person, but I've spoken to him online. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. He came when I used to live in Vegas. He came to Vegas one year, so we met up that way. And then I keep telling them that I apologize for stealing photos off of his Facebook page because he has a super awesome his Facebook handle is DeLorean 01955 or something like that.
Yeah.
And his picture, like, he's just got great pictures, Back to the Future, DeLorean, whatever. And I'm always like, dude, where are you getting this stuff? Because that's my thing. I'm always trying to find picture, to repost and all that. But
yeah, he has friends.
He hasn't told me. He's like, oh, I know people. Yeah.
Friends who send him memes, and he actually checks them to make sure that he's not just posting something that's already been posted before. So he's always got new content for that. It's pretty good.
He's got good content. So I'm always like, I apologize. I try to give out a little credit here and there, but sometimes I just blatantly steal it. I'll just be honest with you.
I am basically the only DeLorean that's available for hire in around 600 miles or around 1,000 kilometers. There's another guy who does it occasionally, Lance. He's like 2-hour drive north of me though, and he does things on occasion, but he's not too interested in doing it a lot.
Okay.
He's an old retired Air Force guy, and he's a great guy, but not too interested in messing around with a lot of things. And like if it's a professional hire, sometimes they always have weird requirements, and he's not too interested in doing some of those stuff. So he takes what he can up there, and I do that. And so it's basically just me, and the other owners are just literally not interested in it. They might do a couple, but you know, I'm the only one that's necessarily advertising. So that means I get everything from the high school formal prom equivalent drop-offs to the big corporate events from billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
So that's given me all sorts of
let me
interesting
do you have a Facebook for your business?
No, there's none of that like that. It's just me personally, and there's my personal website at realmplus.com.
Oh,
and it's
let
just
me
attached to that. Yeah. So I've got my website. I've been doing various articles on maintaining the DeLorean because I have a right-hand drive, and in particular, like under the dash, that means I've got a lot of space that I can take photos of things that the average person can't quite see. Like regrounding where the I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's the little box that's got the trip counter in it that is for servicing the engine, and then it's also got the next to it is also the sensor that if you roll the car over, the little red thing pops up and whatever else.
Oh, the initial switch,
inertia switch. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. So the things like regrounding.
Is that the lambda counter?
Lambda counter, yeah, the lambda counter and the inertia switch, that area. The grounding for that goes through to the fuel pump. And so if you reground that onto the frame, then that gives you much higher voltage going to the fuel pump, because otherwise it's sharing all the same grounding point to the bolt that's just above the battery, those 7 ground wires. And that's like a good 6 or 7 amps on the stock fuel pump that's going through that. So it also, this affects things like your voltage gauge on your dash. It all goes through that as well. So regrounding that is a relatively simple way to get much more life out of your fuel pump and have much more consistent pressure and less buzzing from it collapsing and whatever else. But in a stock left-hand drive DeLorean, you can't easily get into that to actually see where it is clearly and where the things are, because there's everything under the dash. But on my DeLorean, that entire area is basically hollow. So I've got some good photos on my website there on how to get into there, where to pull back the carpet, where to crimp it, whatever else, stuff like that. Yeah, trying to, you know, contribute back to the community where I can.
Cool, very cool. Tell me if you could send me that. Do you know how to send the chat? Send me the website, your website, and I can
do it by
screencast
chat.
it.
Yeah,
I can screenshot or screencast it. While he's doing that, I have the guy that I did his birthday party today. He turned 40. If everybody on 3 can say happy birthday, Eric. He said he's watching on the YouTube live. So I don't know. Let's be as cheesy as possible. I think it'd be cool to get DeLorean guys from all around the country.
Oh, wait, you know what though? Is he listening also?
He's on. Yeah, I think so. He should be.
Maybe if he's not listening, we should hold up a happy birthday.
What is that? What do you mean hold up a happy birthday?
Just write on a piece of paper happy birthday. What's his name? Eric?
Eric. He turns 40 today.
Right.
I don't have anything like that near me.
Okay. All right, never mind. Just
happy birthday, Eric. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday, Eric.
Hopefully he heard that. I'm on the chat right here, but I don't see anybody. Sometimes if you're not logged into your YouTube, you can't go along with the chat as well. But whatever, we did it. Cool.
The basic story of my car is in 2010, I rocked up to DMC Northwest and said, "Hi, I'd like to buy a DeLorean, right-hand drive conversion, please." And as you would expect, anyone in that situation goes, "Oh, yeah, sure, you can buy the cars, yes, but buy a t-shirt," because realistically, most people who rock up to a dealership and say that aren't actually serious. But we talked through the mechanics of that and whatever else. And like, I'm only visiting here. I can't find the DeLorean for sale. I can't do everything. I have to do anything remotely through you. And when we got back home, when I just reminded Toby that, you know, I'm willing to pay a deposit, he's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I better actually find a car for you." So I got him to do the conversion specifically because I had seen the conversions that DMC Houston were doing, and I thought it was something that was better tackled by a different engineer. someone that would look at the DMC Houston's conversion jobs and go, oh, that's interesting, but here's everything that's wrong with it, and I'm going to fix it and do it differently. DMC's conversions at the time worked, but they weren't engineering-wise something I was fully satisfied with. And the conversions in the UK, basically, they were happening, but they weren't happening very quickly or very frequently. So getting one from the UK wasn't really an option. So I thought, back then the Australian dollar was at $1.10 as well. Compared to right now, it's at 65 cents. So the exchange rate was insanely good as well. So I kind of just got that done. So it took roughly 11.5 months from when my DeLorean was legally mine to when I actually saw it with my own 2 eyes myself in Australia. So it was a massive project to get that all done and sent over here and everything like that. Interestingly enough, Queensland Transport, when they inspected the car, they saw it was right-hand drive converted, and they went, we don't have any record of right-hand drive DeLoreans existing in our system. Let me just add one to it right now, adding that in. So they thought that it was stock right-hand drive from the factory. So that's, a testament to whatever the fit and polish of that job was done. So yeah, it was 13 months total, because there was a bit of compliancing and licensing and certification once it got here. 13 months from when I bought my DeLorean to when I could drive it home for the very first time. It has been simultaneously the best decision of my life and the worst decision of my life.
Yeah.
Both at once. Even stuff like oil filters. The oil filters that are available here are pretty crap, and they're expensive. And I have this habit of opening up oil filters after I'm done with them just to see what they're like on the inside. And I will also say, I have opened up DMC's oil filters. They're rebranded Bosch ones or whatever they are, the black ones. I've had more than one of them collapse when I opened it up on the inside, and there's all collapsed particles in there, and the filter medium's all bent and distorted. So I would not actually recommend anyone use those filters anymore. I've had enough of them that have gone bad on me. I was going to put another article in my blog in the next couple of weeks about that, because my most recent oil filter on them was the only one I've had that didn't collapse, but it's still buckled and bent in places on the inside. So yeah, the search for an oil filter that actually is good in a DeLorean and won't collapse is still ongoing. I can't remember the brand name of what I'm using now, but it's another American one, because an oil filter in Australia that's compatible is around 25, 30 US dollars. In America, you can get them for like $6 to $8 US over there. So every time I'm over there, I tend to buy half a dozen, chuck them in my suitcase and take them back here, just because it's so weird that oil filters are so expensive.
Wait, can I ask Mike? I'm curious. Can you describe, when you say collapse? Are they? I'm assuming an oil filter, and just all of a sudden, because of internal pressures or vacuums, actually it collapses in on. Is that what you're saying? That they actually kind of cave in on themselves?
Let me see if I got a photo of the most recent filter. I've got my older filters from years past I was going to do. The most recent filter, it's only just bent and buckled a tiny bit. So that one basically held up. I don't know how well that's going to show. Like that. See how they're no longer straight. So that one's basically fine. That survived, no issue. But imagine basically if you got a finger and just poked it in and it just bent in like that. That's how some of the other filters that I've had in the past, how they've ended up. Something like that basically means that the filter medium has been damaged and the oil is likely to be going directly through the medium instead of getting filtered. How much this matters depends realistically on how often you're changing your oil. And as a part of this could also be that I tend to use a thicker oil in my DeLoreans. I tend to use something that's a 50 weight oil, equivalent to what would be I used to use 20W50, but I've slowly transitioned to synthetics over like 5 years or so. And that seems to have helped it not collapse as often. But given that 20W50 is what a lot of the people recommend for hotter climates, and I am not in a particularly hot climate in Australia, and I was still having the filter medium outright collapse on me, That's a bit worrying for the official DMC filters. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Well, thanks for that. That's
Yeah.
something to think about.
We'll see how it works. Oh, also, I tend to stick magnets on the side of my filters as well, just because if you've got like old computer hard drives, you can take them apart. You get super strong magnets out of them, like really strong, as in pinch your skin and pinch off skin and draw blood levels of strong. So you've got to be careful when you're handling them. But I always tend to put the magnets on just because I have them for free. You can buy magnets to go around them, oil filters that are sold for that purpose, and they will charge you a couple $100 for it. Or you can spend like $3 on Amazon for a neodymium magnet and get it like that. But theoretically, they say, a lot of people say it does nothing to the oils because there should be nothing magnetic in there. You know, it's an aluminium block and whatever else. It should be fine. But for instance, you can see on this one exactly where the magnets were on the side of the oil filter from small amounts of magnetic dust. Yes, hard drive magnets like that, Doug.
Yeah, I have a ton of these.
I tend to get the, put them in a vise or something like that and get the bracket off the back. Normally the bracket isn't even glued on or anything. It's just a handy way to hold them until you deal with them. But a hammer and a vise, you can bend the back and get the actual magnet off. But if you're doing that, I've taken apart more than one oil filter, and almost every one I've taken apart, at least I can say for the DMC official ones, the flowback valve on them is at the end cap of it. So stick the magnets up towards the upper half where the screw is, where the engine block, whatever else is. Then there won't be any risk of magnet interfering with the drain valve if, for instance, it has to go over pressure or something like that. I checked the DMC ones, and the nothing in that area seemed to be too magnetic. That should affect the spring at the base of it in the arrows. But you know, you can see the valve. This is the inside of the medium upside down. There's a little pin right there, and there's a spring that pushes against it. So if something happens, like when the oil's too thick, like when the car is cold and hasn't gotten up to temperature and just can't physically get through the filter medium enough, it can push through that and still get oil through the engine, because having unfiltered oil is better than having no oil at all through the engine. You know, it's some lubrication. And once the engine picks up, that normally happens. So normally you would just want to keep the magnets away from that just in case it messes up or something. Yeah. As a simple thing, every time I've taken off the, when I say that, those have been sitting like that, draining for 24 hours, and the magnetic dust is still visible on where the magnets were on the side of the pan. So it's simple. It's, you know, if you've got hard drive magnets, just chuck them on there. You can reuse them between filters as well. It's a simple thing, I think, that'll just, you know, prolong the life of these engines. They're, you know, getting nearly 40 years old. So I kind of am in the opinion that anything you can do to try and help them last another 40 years without needing being rebuilt, you know, is worth it.
Yep.
Ryan's in the house. DeLorean weekend, Las Vegas. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi there. How's everybody doing?
Hi, Brian. How everybody?
Ryan and Bob run up DeLorean weekend, Las Vegas. We were chatting about it a while ago, just talking about, is it happening? We don't know, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I figured I'd shoot you an email and see if you wanted to jump in.
What is our official statement on all of this?
Well, there you go. Yeah, there's a, I don't know, are the guys still in, or Foster, you're still in here, right?
Yep.
Yeah, talking about the convoy and stuff. So that was the conversation.
So we've been following the virus very closely. In fact, my father's got a lot of background experience in epidemiology, so he's actually been advising the CDC on a few things. So my joke is, you know, the CDC's desperate when they're reaching out to my father for advice. Specifically in how it comes down to cleaning hospitals and whatnot. But basically we have basically three different plans, like three different contingency plans based on what happens, right? Ideally, we are hoping that all of this has died down by then, the worlds are opened back up, and we can just have a regular DeLorean weekend as always. If the virus is still a big deal, we're considering like a social distancing DeLorean weekend, where we would still go out to places if they are open, and people are welcome to social distance or wear masks and gloves, and we still get to be in the presence of each other. That's kind of our middle ground. And then our worst case scenario, which is a lot less likely to happen now that we've kind of plateaued, but when we were worried that millions of people would get the virus, our plan was to fall back to like a virtual DeLorean weekend that would be over Zoom or something along those lines. But I think now that we're plateauing, we're really hoping that by October, everything will be back to normal and we'll be able to do a standard DeLorean weekend. So it's basically too early to say anything at this point. Reserve your hotel rooms to the extent that they are refundable, and we're all hoping for the best.
Okay, good.
Foster, how many guys did you have interested in doing the convoy? Who was running, like who was putting that all together? Was that you?
Me, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what kind of interest was there? I mean, it seemed like it was kind of gaining some interest there.
It has been. I think it's kind of settled down a little bit with the whole COVID thing, but
Sure.
We had about 5 to 6 from this area, North Carolina, and then I know Anthony said that he had probably 6 to 8 from the Chicago area. I know there was I want to say there was another one coming from the Canada, up near Vancouver, Canada.
There's a guy, from BC who's interested in doing it.
Yeah, Benjamin, I think it is.
Wow.
Benjamin, and then Henning was another one.
Okay. And I know somebody wanted to do something from Los Angeles, like kind of so different spurs coming together and meeting in Vegas. But I believe the Chicago was going to meet us in Oklahoma City is what the plan is right now. So, but again, I've kind of been waiting to see if definite from you guys if the event's going to go on or not.
So we're saying that at this point, we have no reason to cancel it. We are hoping that everything will be over by then. So we are encouraging everybody to continue as planned, and worst case scenario, we'll hand out N95s to everybody when they get here.
It's your radiation suit.
Yeah.
You got to paint them yellow. Make sure they're yellow.
The only reason I could see where we would cancel it is if for some reason that larger group were unlawful,
Right.
Sure. I don't
Right.
see a situation in which they would say that. So,
Ryan, what do you think about the economic factor with everything going on?
right. So as it affects DeLorean weekend or as it affects everybody?
Well, DeLorean weekend specifically, no.
Sure. Well, a lot of people, it's interesting. From what I've heard, things fall into 3 groups. A third of the population works remotely. A third of the population is in essential services, so they're still working, and another third is unemployed. So if a third of the population is unemployed, now you got to look at DeLorean owners and how many of them were working remotely or working in essential services or have lost their jobs. So
Right.
if a third of DeLorean owners have lost their jobs, then that means that we may see 30% less attendance this year. But with the convoy you are planning, it looks like it was going to be a fantastic year. So it might equal out.
Well, I'm hoping for it to still continue, and we still have a good turnout. I was really, until this whole thing happened, I was really looking forward to having an awesome convoy coming rolling into Vegas,
Well, it may still happen, and we're not canceling anything at this point, but we're being very cautious, and we're just going to adapt our event to the situation at hand.
Sounds good.
So, and if you guys have any advice or input, call me, email me. We'll adapt as needed, and let us know what you guys think we should do.
Will do.
If the restaurants and things we wanted to go to are closed, we'll find alternatives. So.
Ryan, you guys, good luck. I unfortunately won't be able to do that. It's a 5-day drive for me. And as much as I would love to do it, I am recently changed into a new position with a new company, so I won't be able to do that. But I will absolutely watch you guys from afar, root you on, and hope that you get a ton of participants. And maybe next year or the year after that, when you do it again, I'll be able to join. So
Sounds
Yep.
great.
guys, it's almost 1 o'clock here, and my wife is probably wondering where the hell I am. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. But Andy, thanks for
Doug.
putting this together.
Yep.
Thanks for putting it together, buddy. I'll see you guys. Hey, next week. Are you doing this next week? Next Saturday?
I have a feeling I don't really have much on my schedule.
So I do a family chat with my family, and each week, same time, 8 o'clock instead of later. But each week we have a theme, and the theme varies from the beer or the cocktail of your choice or whatever, and you have to hold it up and show everybody what you're drinking. Next week, Saturday, May 2nd is Happy Birthday to Doug Day. So the theme next week shall be wear a birthday hat, eat a cupcake in front of everybody, or bring a cookie or something like that.
That's
So
funny.
so
Okay.
so
Are you
Andy,
allowed to wear your birthday suit? That's a question I have.
you do not want to see me in my birthday suit. That's you don't want to do that. You don't go there.
Check.
Nah.
Got it.
So next week, Andy, your theme is going to be the Happy Birthday
Happy
video
birthday,
chat.
Doug party. All right.
The Happy Birthday Doug
RentDelorean
party.
is,
Yep. I will see you guys next
I'll
week.
make
I'm
it
gonna go ahead
happen.
and sign off. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take it easy, Doug. Have a good
See
night.
you guys. Good seeing you guys.
See ya.
Cool. Well, Johnny, are you still in there? You can hear me?
Yeah.
I would like to, if your DeLorean is not available to go to DeLorean weekend, I would like to nominate you to take over the Facebook/YouTube live version of DeLorean weekend so that I could broadcast it this way just for other people to watch on YouTube. I think that would be kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, I'm down.
That would be kind of fun.
I've been going with my Fiero, and it's not the same, but
Johnny, is your car the one that's up at Toby Peterson's?
Yep.
Okay, I've seen it there many times.
Yeah, mine's the one with the phantom, like
The electrical issue.
yeah,
Yeah,
the electrical issue.
that
So
apparently occurred after putting a new exhaust system on it, which is really
Rob Grady did a Spec 1 exhaust, custom steering rack, and was working on stainless steel fuel lines. And then after that, he did a just a normal tune-up, new caps and distributor and all that. And who knows what happened? But there's obviously some underlying electrical issue because there was a lot of extra grounding wires on this car that shouldn't have existed. So it's no coincidence that what Toby found was I'm getting positive power to my ground wire, and there's all these extra ground wires that shouldn't be there. So obviously there was some existing electrical issue that someone just kind of said, oh, here, let me just try some stuff. And then when it finally worked, they kind of left it, and I basically had a ticking time bomb. So it was just a matter of time, but I'm glad it happened the way it did,
Yeah.
The car they had, it was sparking on 3 cylinders, and then Toby was did something with the distributor, and it always stayed on one side or something like that.
It's been 2 years, so I can't remember what side it was, but one side, on 3 cylinders, I'd get perfect spark, and it would fire up, and it would idle, and it would sit there and run, which even Rob Grady was like, "What? This shouldn't be possible. What's going on here?" And then we even Josh overnighted us his custom ignition computer, and me and Rob Grady even put that on, and we got 6 sparks, and we were like, perfect, problem solved. It's gonna fire right up. And then it just cranked and cranked and cranked as if the timing was off. And we're just like, what? We're finally getting 6 beautiful sparks. Why is this not firing up now? So we just put the old computer back on, and it fired right up, but only 3 sparks again. So after flying Rob out 3 times, I said, you know what? Toby, he's the one that worked on the car before I owned it. He was an electrical engineer for God knows how long for Boeing. So if anybody can figure this out, it's going to be him. So,
Chris Miles, I nominate you to, since you just got in here, I nominate you to take over the operation for John's DeLorean because it's been way too long since he's had it.
Right.
I've heard about this car. I don't know. I think it's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I showed up at Toby's one day, and that car was in the bay, and Toby, he almost literally threw up his hands in front of me. I don't know. I can't get it it's only sparking on 3 sides. And he said there is no reason that I can find so far as to why it's doing that.
Yeah.
It's cursed.
Yeah.
Cursed. It's cursed.
Yeah, and I don't want to go so drastic as to say, just throw on a new wiring harness altogether, because
right.
We
That's a
don't
big
know
job.
if there's another cause that it would just do the same things, so that's why Toby's been going through and he's been unwrapping every wire and checking it and fixing any little issues and then wrapping it back up. And it's time consuming, but at the end of the day, it'll basically be a rebuilt wiring harness when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the moral of the story is don't take the car, modify the wiring harness, use wires in a way other than intended, and then sell it.
Good luck.
Yeah. But, who knows? I mean, there was two owners before I had it. So who knows when this happened? I have all the records from the 5 or 4 years that Toby worked on it before I bought it, and he never did anything. There was never any work done in his shop that had to do with any of that. So obviously one of the previous owners did it themselves or went to just some no-name shop and had it done. And unfortunately I wish I knew who did it, because then at least I could ask them, why'd you do it, what was it doing before, and we could maybe backtrack a little bit. But right now we're just a complete mystery.
It wasn't the guy that you had changed the oil when you first got it, was it?
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
I'd blame him. I think he still lives in Vegas.
No, I think he moved.
Oh, he did? Oh, that jerk.
Yeah.
Probably broke your car and moved. Got the hell out of there.
Right.
After I think I told you this, after I took a picture of your car and my car in my garage and I posted that, years have gone by and I still get people, I thought you had 2 DeLoreans, because I had 2 2 of them parked inside. No, I only have 1. I was just helping somebody out. But.
Right. Yeah, that was a good picture. So
you'll get it back eventually.
Yeah. And for the longest time, it wasn't really bothering me, because I bought the Fiero, and at the time, me and my wife, our townhouse only had a 1-car garage, which was half full of a bunch of crap anyway. But we recently, just a couple months ago, just bought our dream home finally, and I got a nice big 3-car garage.
That's right, I saw that.
I'm at the point now where I'm finally ready. I have a spot in the garage for it to come back.
Where in Vegas are you now?
I'm less than a mile away from Railroad Pass, so I'm like as far out on
you're
Boulder
way down
Highway.
there.
Yeah, I'm as far south as you can go on Boulder Highway as possible before you hit open desert.
That was a stop on DeLorean weekend, right, Ryan? The Railroad Pass.
Yeah. I'm literally a 1-minute drive from Railroad Pass.
Ah, that's cool.
I'm one exit away.
By being out that far, you were able to get a very nice place, right?
Oh yeah. It was really good. We got a 3,500 square foot place, 5-bedroom.
Wow.
I think we ended up only paying $420 for it, which that's not bad considering it's like a $3 million house if you were living in California or something.
Is that considered Henderson, or is that Vegas? Is that still Las Vegas address?
It's Henderson.
Oh, it's Henderson. Okay, yeah.
Technically.
I actually saw you on the interstate a couple of years ago when we were out in Vegas for my daughter's cheerleading convention.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to drive the hell out of that thing, Yeah, daily drove it for 15 months, and I never did get a lot of pictures, but every once in a while when I did get a picture, it was always really blurry, and people would say, "Oh yeah, it was really hard to keep up with you." So, because I would do 85, 90 miles an hour on the way home every night. So.
My God.
I was in a Mustang GT trying to keep up with you, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that was stock at the time. I can't wait to get it back with this new exhaust system and get a little extra oomph out of it.
See, I took mine out today, and I was at a red light, and some guy clearly wanted to race, and I'm like, you know what? Go for it, buddy. I am in a hurry.
I get that too.
And he took off, and I was like, good for you, but everybody can see me before they care about you.
That's what I've always said. You'll win, but I'll look better.
But I'll look better.
Yeah, right.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I lose with style.
I wouldn't mind going up against a few. Because of course with the speedometer only going to 85, I use my GPS to see what my actual speed is above that. And the fastest I ever got that car at, and remember, this is an automatic stock.
Oh crap.
117 was the fastest I was able to get it on a flat plane, just nothing, just
So during
pedal to the metal.
During the rally in 2018 out in Utah, I had my stage 2 up to 132 miles an hour. And I knew it was time to slow down when I could turn the steering wheel 90 degrees each direction and the car went straight.
Wow. Wow.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And that's